So this is the XAUUSD analysis for Monday 20th of November. XAUUSD, also known as gold. So let's just have a look what happened with prices on Friday. So let's just see where we are. Just bear with me a second here. So we were looking at the 17th, wasn't it? Yes, it was. So it was the 17th, and we were looking. Let's go down here. Let's put a bit here. There we are. So on the 17th, we did see a 1276 did hold, so we didn't trade all the way down to the 1270s for a bounce to the upside. So 1276 did hold, coupled with the 400 period moving average here in black. What we did see was prices moved, we broke out upwards. So we did have a series of this does look like an inverted head and shoulders, so we did come down head, and there's the other shoulder. We did have continuation, so we came into this long consolidation, held 1276, moved upwards, pulled back, and again we've had a breakout above these previous highs here in around at 1288, where we did see some minor resistance in the past. 1284 was the level we were looking at, but as we did break out and test 1288 a couple of times, we put in this minor line at 1288, as we might see possible resistance. Again, on these occasions we didn't have much of a negative reaction. So XAUUSD had a strong move all the way up to the level we're looking at the 1290, was 12, I think I mentioned it's 1296. We did get up to 1296. I did expect that to be the far end of the range from the video for the 17th, and it did hold for the, because it did we did have the breakout towards the end of the day, and we did hold at 1296 level. Now we're pulling back a little bit here, but after the strong move, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here on the chart for some perspective. So there we are. Hopefully all the scaling is correct here. So as we can see from the end of last month in October, the lower end of the range being 1263, upper end of the range being 1284, briefly broke above it, held at 1288, broke back into the zone again. But what's happened is, as we can see here, we've got our lows here. We've posted a series of higher lows, and sometimes it's been a bit mixed because we are in a bit of a changing range, but overall we've been closer to the upper end of the range than the lower end of the range at 1263. With a series of higher lows, prices were getting contracted for a squeeze in around at 1284, 1288. We did briefly pull back down before we had the momentum take us through the upper end of the range. So as we've broken out above the upper end of the range and this mini range that we saw here in around the 1284 or 1288 that we did break back down into the range from, we are expecting a further continuation to the upside. So we've come into this area of resistance, this weekly pivot from a couple of weeks ago now, at 1296. So let's have a look at the levels above, which would be of interest to us. So I'm just going to scale this chart a bit here. I'm going to, let's just do this way actually. So the levels we're looking at to the upside. Now we have come into that area of resistance, so we are seeing a bit of a pullback at the moment, as we did see the volatility come in Friday, quite a bit of it. So we may pull back from 1292 at present all the way down to 1288, as that was 1288. That was the mini range that we were into from this 1284. So we may pull back down to this 1288 before we see continuation take us through 1296, after which we'll be looking to see if 1296 does hold, or if we do have strong momentum straight through 1296, take up to the next major level of 1305. 1305 has been a strong level in the past. I think it's a level I've got marked out on based on a daily or weekly chart from several months ago now. This 1305 more recently it has held. So I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart. I don't trade 4-hour chart. I'm just going to use it to make scaling a lot easier. So as we can see here on the 4-hour chart, if we grab the pen, from that 1305 we saw this pretty strong move all the way down to this 1263, and we've had a pullback upwards, but the move has been pretty strong down to 1263. Here on this 4-hour chart, we can also see the range I've mentioned before in around that 1284 and 1263. Also, we can see we briefly did break above this. Well, in the past, we can also see here that the 1288 where we did sell off from more recently. Now on this 4-hour chart again, you can see the series of higher lows from the tests of 1263. We've had a series of higher lows, not revisiting that 1263 in quite some time before we had this strong breakout candle here on this 4-hour chart just there. We've had a pin bar now, so we are likely to see a bit of a pullback, possibly down to this level that we've just mentioned before we see continuation all the way up to 1305, which was the level that we saw some selling momentum come back into the market. Now beyond 1305, we'll be looking at 1320. Now 1320 is quite a bit away. It is currently about $28 away, so we kind of wouldn't anticipate price getting up to 1320 unless there's a strong fundamental catalyst to bring prices all the way up there. But beyond 1305, we will definitely looking at 1320. That's going to be a medium to long term target. We'll be looking at if 1305 we do break above 1305 and we do hold. If we break above 1305, we do hold. We'll be expecting continuation 1320. I'll see how prices behave around 1320. We do see a strong pullback, or if we do see further continuation, beyond which we'll be looking at levels all the way up to, I think it's 1340, 1341, in and around that region. So if we have a look at this, is a 6-hour chart actually. So the next levels we'll be looking at possibly seeing some sell-side momentum come into the market. So we might see some momentum, well, potential sell-side momentum coming in the market in around this 1313 level. So the reason 1313, again, we've seen some sellers come into the market just over here on the left of the chart in around 1313. We've come up before we've had a sell-off. Again, we've come up to 1313 before having another sell-off there in the not too distant past. This was September actually. So in around September, 1313 did hold. That was when we had quite a lot of volatility surrounding the North Korea situation. So before we get to 1320, possibly 1330 may be a level we'll be looking at. Actually, now I've mentioned it, I'm just going to mark it out on the charts. So let's just put that on the charts for reference purposes. So in around there, I'm just going to change the color to a blue. And around at 1313, we do see some selling momentum coming to the market. So we'll see how prices behave when we do get up there. Now let's have a look at potential downside targets that we'll be looking to see where we might see potential bounces from if we do have a retracement. So we mentioned 1288. So from 1288, we are looking for potential buy side momentum. If we do retrace a lot deeper than that, as we can see here, 1284 was a level that we did test a couple of occasions, had a pullback before we had a breakout, and again we were looking for 1284 to potentially have to support, as he has acted as resistance in the past. So if we do break below this 1288, we'll be looking for 1284, which is the upper end of that trading range between 1263 and 1284 for a potential bounce for momentum to take us up to 1296. We'll be looking to see how prices behave, beyond which we'll be looking at 1305. Now I can't anticipate prices moving much beyond that 1284, but if we do, we'll be looking at 1279 and 1276. I can't anticipate price coming all the way back down to 1270 or 1263. So we're just going to have a look at the higher time frames just to see how prices are developing on the higher time frames. So we're just going to go over to the monthly first. Now we're going to head over to the monthly. Okay, we see on this monthly chart. So more recently, let's just scroll over a bit. So more recently, as we can see, on the monthly chart, we've come down to this, where is that actually? I'm just going to bear with me a second. Let me just see where that is, as these lines are quite some time away. So we've come down and found support in around this 1046. I don't anticipate us getting down there anytime soon. That was all the way in 2015. More recently, we've got December 2016. Again, we've come down to this level just here in around the, where is that? We've got this level marked out on the charts in around 1126. Again, we're not going to revisit there anytime soon. So the most recent trend, as we can see, is we moved upwards. We've had a pullback in around I think it's $1,200 level. Yes, it's $1,200 before we had a continuation upwards. Now I'm just going to scale in on here. correct. So we're just going to go in. So we've had a move upwards. We've had a bit of a pullback. We found support. So we've got our lows there. We've got a higher low, and we more recently we're operating in the shadow of this bearish candle here. So we've had the wick to the top. We've got a very strong candle closing near its lows. But after this month here, what's happened? What we've seen is, so this was the month of September. We've seen a pretty much not a what would be a pin bar, but it's got a small body. We didn't see continuation, so we sort of move upwards to test this level just here, in and around. Let's just get that on the, let's just see where that is. So we've had a test of 1306 that we did mention. We did see a bearish pin bar, but so far in the month of November, we are seeing a bullish continuation. So we've not seen much momentum to the downside, and we're seeing a pretty strong body so far this month. So we do look poised to put a bullish month. Now, we do have on this monthly chart, we do have our 20-period moving average, which does seem to be acting as a support in around that 1266, because we did see the sell-off all the way down to that 20-period moving average here in October. Now in November, again, we've had another test, and that lines up with the level I've mentioned previously, that 1263, which is the bottom end of the previous trading range between 1263 and 1284. So here on the monthly chart, in around at 1263, we've got a 1266, which is the 20-period moving average here on the monthly chart, which is acting as dynamic support for prices. As we can see in the past, it has acted, prices have not traded there or closed below the 20-period moving average. Well, it has not closed below the 20-period moving average on the monthly chart for quite some time. So over the past couple of months, particularly in, I think it's 2017 in total, actually, I think let's just double check that just to be sure. Apart from possibly, yes. So we've not actually closed below a 20-period moving average here. So in the year of 2017, we've not closed below a 20-period moving average here on the let's just double check that just to make sure. So we closed 1270, yeah. So we've not closed below the 20-period moving average on the monthly chart on the, yes, closed below, sorry. Just composing my thoughts. So we've not closed below the 20-period moving average on the monthly chart in the year of 2017, which is a good sign. Now let's just have a look. So we do look poised for the retest of that 1305 level, and again we're looking for the major level in around possibly, if we do have some strong continuation, a long-term target would be the most recent high, the highs of 2017, all the way up at 1357 for another retest of that level, where we saw some sell-side momentum coming to the market. We do have to be aware of previous levels that we did see some selling coming to the market, so possibly in around, we mentioned 1340, but just before 1340, 1341, we've got 1337, where we might see some reactions in around there. Now let's just have a look at the weekly chart before we go on to the daily and before we wrap up this analysis as well. So here we go on to the weekly chart, and let's just see where we are. So the most recent trend we've seen, we've come down to this 1200 level, we've pulled back, and is it 1200? Let's be clear, it's got quite a bit, chart's a bit messy at the moment. So we've come down to this 1128, and we've come all the way up to this $1,200 level. We've held this $1,200 level before we've had strong continuation to the upside. So we've held 1200 before we've had strong continuation to the upside. So we've seen pullbacks before we've moved all the way up to this 1357, where we've had some sell-side momentum coming in around the 400-period moving average. Now from this 400-period moving average, we've come down to this 1263, which does appear to have held so far. We've got a bullish chart from last week, a very strong bullish chart, which is a good sign. So we've held 1263. We've had an inverted hammer, bullish inverted hammer or pin bar, and now we've got a strong continuation from last week. Candle closing near its high, so we do look poised for that retest of 1305 again, which we mentioned, 1320, possibly 1337 before moving all the way up to this 1357. Again, it's a medium to long-term target. Now we are, let's just have a look how prices are behaving in relation to the most recent swing. So we do have 1357, but we've not revisited our highs in around 1377 from all the way back in 2016, was it? Yes, it was 2016. We're not going all the way up to 1377, but we are still operating in shadow of a pullback. We do look poised for another retest, so we could see the most recent trend has been pretty bullish, despite the fact that we've sold off from 1357. We again put in a higher low, which is a somewhat bullish sign here on the weekly time frame. Now let's just have a look at the daily time frame before wrapping up this analysis video, which is probably going a lot longer than I initially anticipated. So if we go out to this daily chart, we can see here we did have this long consolidation, which I was worried about. So I did think it would be a lot weaker, as we have seen a degree of indecisiveness. Even though we have been trending upwards, I did think we'd possibly have a breakdown for another retest of the channel, as it took so long for us to break out. But I should have remained confident, as we were trading near the upper end of the trading range. Now, what we've seen here on this daily chart is we saw this very strong bullish candle all the way up into a resistance in around at 1396 level, 1395, 1396. Again, we're expecting a pullback before we see continuation to retest our 1305 level. So we found support here in the bottom of the range, 1263. We've had pretty much a double bottom in around at 1263, coupled with the 400 period moving average. This 400 period moving average here on this daily chart is just below where we are at, in around 1263 level. We've also got the 200 period moving average. Again, the 400 period moving average is in black, the 200 period moving average is in blue. So we did have the consolidation after the double bottom, and we did have a pretty much a breakout candle of the previous trading range. Now we do anticipate the move all the way upwards to that 1305 before we're looking for potential seeing a pullback or a deeper pullback before possibly going up to 1320. On here we've got 1334, we've got 1337, 1340 before we head up towards 1357. So those are the levels that we're ultimately looking at. So that should wrap up the XAUUSD analysis. Thanks for watching.